Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session for today. And today we're going to be talking about enabling data ops in the cloud. And I'll share my screen and we will get started. Hope everyone is doing well today, and thank you for joining me. Enabling data ops in the cloud. I'm Artis Taylor, and I'm a manager for FedEx Logistics and IT. And so, who else am I? I manage the Oracle DBA team as well as the SaaS admin team for FedEx Logistics, and I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm also a husband and a father. My wife Kendra and I have been married almost 24 years, and we have two sons, Micah and Austin. The funny thing about the picture that you see of my family is the one that's the biggest is the youngest. He's the biggest man in the house, and he's only 16 years old. So as you can see, he's bigger than everyone else. Outside of that, I also pastor a small church, New Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Olive Branch, Mississippi. But when I'm not doing the church, when I'm not doing church, I'm all about the data. And guess what? This is all about data. It's all about data. So as we say this is all about data, really want to just hone in on this fact that all businesses collect data in some form or format. We all businesses will look at how many things are they're selling versus how many things they're not selling. So we look at all of the different types of data that we can collect. They all come in from different data points. So various data points we retrieve this data. It could be from the cloud, or it can be from a computer, or it could even be from a disk because we still have disks that we save data to. So the other various points of data are customer facing systems, entry data, calls data, customer data, package data, and scan data. Now, of course, those things we understand that customer facing systems are like your computer or the internet. The calls data are and entry data. Entry data, of course, is when someone physically enters in data. The calls data, when you have customers that call into a call center or call a company about products that they sell or merchandise that they sell, or even if they have a question about where's my merchandise. Then, of course, customer data can be the customer name, customer phone number, customer address, or that unique customer identifier that we have for every one of our customers. Uh, then you have package data. Package data, if you're shipping data somewhere, whether you are Macy's or if you're Walmart or if you're Target, you want to know where your package is, and you want to let your customers know they can receive this package in a timely manner. So hence you need information about the package. And then of course, what retailer can understand scan data? And that could be the merchandise coming into the store that receives a scan as it comes in, as also the point of sale as it scans and it leaves the store. So we have all these different types of data. But when you have multiple types of data, it lends itself to data challenges. So what are the data challenges? Well, most businesses collect data, but they are unable to use that data to generate business value or deliver insights in a timely manner. What that really means is we can produce the data, but can we do it fast enough to deliver the right insights to the right people at the right time? So data volumes and data types continue to grow. And as they do, we gain different types of data consumers or data citizens, such as your data analysts, your data scientists, business intelligence tools and platforms. So all of these data consumers are the people and processes that consume the data. And as the data grows and as the user community grows, as these data citizens grow, then data management and the delivery of that data becomes the bottleneck for all of the process, all of the questions that the users want answered. So those bottlenecks that happen, when that happens, when we have these data challenges, enter data ops. So what is data ops? Data ops is a group of practices that bring speed and agility to an end-to-end data pipeline process. So all of those data pipelines, the process that sends data from one point to the end, data ops is the thing that brings all of that together and produces it with speed and agility. So, to further that definition, data ops is the coordination of resources and technology to deliver quality data to our data citizens in a very fast manner. And that's another way of saying you need the right people and processes to deliver quality data, which is accurate data, to the right people at the right time. Then, of course, my definition for data ops is the journey that takes you from just having data to being data driven. So, what do I mean by that? Well, having data and having actionable data are completely different concepts. See, every organization has data, but not all of those organizations have actionable metrics that can drive the business. Data ops is the journey that takes you from having all that data to having actionable data to where you're data driven. And what better time to become data driven than as you enter into the cloud? So let's go to the cloud. What are the platforms that we have for the cloud? Well, everyone has probably heard about the big four: Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and Amazon Web Services. Those four are staplers for the cloud community. So if you're in one of these clouds, then you should be good to go. I do say this, and I caution everyone that you use the cloud that's best for your environment. So it really doesn't matter what another company is doing. What matters is what's the best solution for you. So when we go to the cloud and we look at our data in the cloud, the couple things that really play into factor come into play are loading that data and retrieving that data. See, we can store it, but retrieving it, those are the critical things. And there are a few things, few platforms that we want to discuss just to let you know these are the different things you need to look into when you're moving to the cloud. So the cloud tools that I'm speaking of that load data and retrieve data, the loading is the ETL tools, the extract, transform, and load tools, and then reporting, producing those business reports. So you have Informatica, IBM Data Stage, and Ab initio. Those are the loading platforms that you can use. Each one is great in its own right. Each one has different bells and whistles. So it just depends on which one is best for your environment. So you can use any of them, or you can use a collection of them. Or so however is best for your environment, that's the data load tools you want to use. So the retrieving tools, you have TIBCO Spotfire, Tableau, and Power BI. These are business intelligence platforms that produces a lot of data that helps people understand the data. And each one of them comes with built-in analytics that will read the data coming in and produce visualizations that allow users to make decisions about the data. So as you go into the cloud, you want to be thinking of data ops in the cloud because data ops is something that should free things to allow your business users to make better use of the data. So what does data ops in the cloud look like? Data democratization, self-service, data governance, data lineage, and the best practices for data ops. And we'll get more into those. So when I speak of data democratization and self-service, those are the tools that enable the data across the enterprise without restrictions. And when you have data across the enterprise without restrictions, what you're really saying is, I don't need the gatekeepers because we all can access the data. And I do understand that there are government processes in place and government rules in place that governs every business, and they require that certain sensitive data not be accessible by everyone. But when it comes to the data consumers, we need to make sure that the right data is in the right hands to make the right decisions. So democratization of data means making that data accessible and removing that need to have gatekeepers for the specific groups that need the specific data. Also, when you get into self-service is that way of understanding the data, making sure that the users understand the data, because when they understand it and they use those visual analytic tools, that can help them expedite their decision making. And as they go through those tools and the outputs from those tools, the different graphs, the different charts, the different visualizations, they can uncover new areas of opportunity that the company previously didn't see. And what I really mean is each by having democratization of data and self-service, we produce the information that address business needs and responds to critical questions while producing actionable dashboards and reports. That's the big thing we want to make sure of is that our data is actionable. So we don't really want to produce things that are not actionable. So what did it lead us to? It lead us to the data governance and the lineage. Data governance and data lineage. See, the data lineage is all about where did the data come from and where does the data end up? Because the people that's receiving the report, if they understand that process of movement of data, if they understand what that data was, then they can make better decisions. So when you look at your source systems, you want to have metadata or the business terms that define that data that's going to be presented in the report or the dashboard or what have you. But then on top of that, you need data governance. And what data governance is a cycle that makes sure you have the right people, the right processes, and the right technology, where you have the data owners and they're making sure that the right people have the accessibility to that data, and also making sure that security is in place so people that shouldn't see certain sensitive data won't see that data. But also from there, we make sure that you have data quality. And data quality simply means that we can state for certain that this data is true. So we want to have a single version of the truth. So we want to have accurate data. And so that's where that data quality comes in. Then we get to that knowledge. When knowledge is knowing what this data means and how we can merge it together to produce insight into the company's business. Hence, that metadata that we were speaking about to make it easy, make the data easier to understand. And it all comes back to the ownership once again. So that cycle of data governance and the process of data lineage can help us, especially when we're presenting the data, how we find insights and what we do with it. So what are my best practices for data ops? My best practices for data ops. There are 5 best practices that I list here, and I really want to hone in that we want to make sure we do these when we move to the cloud. Because a lot of companies, especially companies that have been in business for a while, we have the practices in place, steer from the old guard, and we're trying to move to the new guard. But in doing that, when we move to the cloud, it's easier to put these best practices into place. Hence, these 5 best practices can help you enable data ops in the cloud. First thing you want to do is you want to start small but build incrementally. Yes, that sounds like agile development, and starting small and building incrementally lends itself to that agile development process, especially the methodology behind it. We want to make sure we can modularize the things we produce and build incremental value so we get more buy-in and we get more people on board, not only with moving to the cloud, but on board with trusting our data and making sure that what we produce, they can say, this is what I need. So we want to start small and build incrementally. But then we want to build operationally supportive apps. What I mean by that is all of the applications that we develop and support, we want to make sure that we can that those applications support the operational sides of the business. In other words, we don't want to produce reports that don't mean anything. So the report has to mean something. For instance, if you have a large retail store and you know during certain holidays that you need more people, you can look at the data to predict how many people you may need. In other words, you can already have that predictive analytics in a visual representation in place from one of those tools, such as your Spotfire or Tableau or Power BI, that can show those analytics that you need, those visualizations that you need. That says, okay, in this area I need more people, but in some areas I don't need as many people, and that lets you know how you can better manage your stores or how you can better manage your business. So we want to make sure we build operationally supportive apps. Then we want to create business data glossaries and catalogs. What that goes back to is the metadata that I was speaking of and the knowledge about what these business terms are and how we define them in order to make them easier to understand for our users. Then we want to enable self-service mechanisms for using the data. That goes back to the analytics tools, the business intelligence tools that we spoke of, Spotfire, Tableau, and Power BI. Now, those are not the only tools out there because you also have business objects. You also have other homegrown tools. You can use Excel to extract and present data. All of that is the same. So whatever we do, we want to make sure we put the power of the data into the hands of the people. So we give them the right tools to take advantage of the data. And the fifth thing, my fifth best practice, is use automation to anticipate source changes and avoid downtime. But in my terms, automate, automate, automate. We want to make sure we automate as much as possible. And we want to use that automation because we can have scripts running to make sure that we can see the source change and be prepared to retrieve that data. And that in turn will help us avoid downtime. So, what is data ops? Data ops is the journey that takes you from having data to being data driven. And what better time to implement data ops than when you come into the cloud? So that concludes our presentation for our session for today. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at artis.taylor Jr. at FedEx.com. That's ARTIS TAYLORJR at FedEx.com. And if I can answer your questions, I will. If not, I'll make sure your questions get to the right people. So that is all we have for today. I thank you for attending.